Well, hello. I'm here with Doug to talk about state of software security and many other things. It is Friday, June 7th, 2024. And so the first thing that caught my attention was this article by a company, Veracode. They put out a white paper on the state of software security, the open source edition, and it is very interesting. The number of libraries used by open source projects is outrageous. Um, JavaScript uses an average JavaScript app. The geometric mean is uses 377 libraries, and which is crazy. And tons of them are have vulnerabilities. Like they say, including any given PHP library has a greater than 50% chance of bringing a security flaw along with it. And the top four types of vulnerabilities found are access control, cross-site scripting, sensitive data exposure, and injection. So, the simplest, most devastating one, command injection, is there. So it is really bad. We've been talking about this a lot over the last couple of years, supply chain security, and it looks really bad.
So,
And
Sam, I've got a related story that I came across with Stack Overflow.
yeah.
Is that one of your stories?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So with Stack Overflow, what's happening is it's a website that programmers use
Yeah.
when they have issues to discuss how to go about solving a problem, and they provide code, right? Or it's a code exchange, if you will.
Yeah.
So programmers are going there, they're getting code, and they're getting help, including code with malware.
Code, that's code with malware, no code with vulnerabilities. Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, the help that they're getting is legitimate, but they're getting something extra that they didn't ask for.
Well, I haven't seen code there personally with malware in it, but certainly code that makes sloppy mistakes. All you're getting is getting recommendations from other coders.
Yeah, but there are people, bad actors that are intentionally giving people code or libraries or suggesting libraries that contain malware.
I
How's
guess that
that?
could happen, and I wouldn't know. Yeah, I'm thinking usually when I go there, I just get like a few lines of code. But you're right, they
Yeah.
include a library, which might be a malicious library. Yeah. Another thing I saw recently is they licensed it to be used for training AIs. They're making money from that. So the angry developers that try to take their stuff down, they will cancel your account and put the stuff back up. Because you have to leave your code up there so they can take it and train LIs so they can make money.
Yeah, interesting.
There, and there's a couple other things in this same area I want to mention. I was very interested to see this study. It's on an article on the Register about it. They find that agile software products have a 268% higher failure rate, which seems like it would have been obvious. Agile software is where you don't bother with documentation or planning, you just start coding without drawing, like a modular diagram first. And just like every programming course has always told us, that's the wrong way to do it.
That's kind of like the Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah.
You start building and, oh, let's put a door here. And
Yeah.
whoops, that's a 40-foot drop. Well, that's okay. Let's make it a window.
Yeah, exactly. There was a Dilbert cartoon about that I used to have on my page where they say we have a new technique, no planning, no documentation, just start coding and complaining. He said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm glad it has a name." And then one more, which is really helps. There's been something been going on ever since February. The National Institute of Standards has not been enriching the CVE database. And now we're beginning to find out why. They recently decided to let other parties assign CVE numbers, and the Linux kernel maintainers made the decision that every bug in the Linux kernel is so important it should be considered a security vulnerability, even though they have no idea how it would be exploited. So they just started giving a CVE to every kernel bug. So there are thousands of them. So they're overflowing the capacity of NIST to keep up with it. So that's what's going on. Everybody's assigning CVEs to everything.
So, we had something that was organized and we're going to disorder.
Well, yeah, but I think what happened is
Yeah.
fundamentally, the number of vulnerabilities just keeps growing and growing. Everybody keeps writing more software, and people become more and more aware of vulnerabilities. So it just grows out of hand. So now they're outsourcing it to some third-party contractor, which is probably the only way to go. And somebody's going to have to winnow these things and boil it down to a reasonable number. It's an outstanding problem. How do you enumerate all the vulnerabilities? How do you scan for them all? Is it really better
Yeah.
if you had 5,000 vulnerabilities and you get that down to 3,000? Does that actually make you safer?
Yeah, good question.
All my career, it's been no security measurements of any kind that really mean anything. And this is another,
Yeah.
we're still struggling with it. Anyway, what have you got?
Yeah. All right. So here's one. Deep fake detectors promise to tell the truth from AI generated fiction. So, is deep fakes are out there. We're seeing more and more of this, right?
Yeah, and I don't even think there's anything that can tell you if a student used an AI to write their term paper that works very well.
No, but there is a nonprofit company that's out there that has an AI detector, if you will.
It tells
So
someone's using an AI detector so you can evade it.
no, I'm kind of joking
Oh,
there.
okay.
They're using AI to see if videos, text is been AI generated or not. And they're claiming not 100% accuracy, but a fairly high degree of accuracy,
Well,
whatever
earlier
that
this
means.
year, there
Yeah.
was some kind of presidential initiative, and the big companies promised to put like watermarks in their AI generated stuff. I don't know if that's happening yet.
No, and I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
The watermarks could be removed. I don't know that that's
of course.
gonna. That's this. Yeah,
But
that's really gonna
still,
solve the
that would
problem.
mean that would mean, that the most unskilled users would leave that mark in there and you'd be able to tell it was generated.
If people would notice it.
Well, then your AI detector would work. It would just look for the watermark.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. True, true.
Yeah. But yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, I'm realizing, Sam, I don't have the name of the company, and I should.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them. I've seen them. These
Have you?
AI detector tools are out there, but as far as I can tell, studies show they don't really work very well.
Yeah. So this is from Marketplace, and truemedia.org is the
Mhm.
name of the company or the website. So you can submit a video, you can put something up there, and you can see if it's considered deep fake or fake or not AI generated.
Yeah. Well, you're the big Microsoft guy. What do you think about Windows recall? Everybody is freaking out about it.
Uh, what do you think? What are your concerns? And this might lead into our next story
Yeah.
or my next story.
Well, I mean, it's basically like a keylogger. It's recording everything you do. It's recording images of every screen view and doing optical character detection to pick all the text off it and put it in a database and just saving it on your machine for 3 months. So it's just begging for anybody to steal. It's and I guess the idea is like Microsoft Copilot. They now have like more than 100 versions of Copilot. They're putting it. They want to have Copilot use your own history to help guide you to find things. So I know some people that like are always going in their browser history to find that article they looked at 3 days ago. And so I guess it would help that kind of people. But how many people really do that? I don't do that very much.
I don't. And when I try and do it, I find it's a waste of time.
It's always better to just re-Google it.
Yeah, but then Google doesn't work well.
Well, now I'm using Perplexity, which works. So I'm trying to replace Google with Perplexity, but it's been
Uh,
pretty good so far. But anyway, that's people are freaking out about the security implications. It seems to me like another one of Microsoft's misbegotten ideas where there's no actual use case, there's a huge downside. And why did you do this? And why is it on by default?
yeah, that's the good question, huh? And so, I've heard security experts say, or maybe this is even Microsoft saying, well, when the computer's turned off, the hard drive's encrypted and that data is protected.
Yeah, I know that is such a ridiculous statement. I mean, the real
But
risk is that
but
you're
it's
going
true.
Well, it's true, of course. So that means someone that steals your abandoned laptop on an airplane won't get it. But that is not the main threat model. The threat model is you will click on a link and get malware on your machine, which will now run in your account with your privileges, and that can totally get at the storage images. So
Well, Sam, you can't bring that up. And please don't bring up elevated access controls where somebody could access the hard drive in the database. We can't mention that while the hard drive is unencrypted.
I know, I know. I mean, I saw these Microsoft boosters saying that's good enough security, and I'm not convinced. I mean, and the point is, everything is always a balance between convenience and security. So, what is the huge benefit you get from this, which justifies taking the risk? By the way, to be fair, password managers are just as bad. Every password manager has all your data unencrypted in RAM while you're using your machine. So if you get infected with malware and it doesn't even get administrator rights, it can steal all the data out of your password manager. So maybe this is no worse, but I think this is worse. It's your whole history, everything you did.
Yeah.
I just, I
We'll,
think
we'll
90%
see.
of the people do not want that and don't want it turned on.
Yeah, well, experiment in progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like big companies like Microsoft haven't abandoned products.
Well, it sort of restores my faith in the universe because after Microsoft did such a great job with OpenAI, I said, this is not the Microsoft I know, which always has three flops and a hit, three flops and a hit. So now they've been returning to making stupid, bad decisions again. So I feel like the universe is back in order. And they're now
Yeah.
the company in the world, right? It's Microsoft, then Nvidia, and then Apple. They're making tons of money because their hits are big enough to cover for all their flops.
Wait, what's the order again?
Microsoft, now Nvidia, then Apple. Nvidia passed Apple on the strength of their
I I thought Nvidia passed Microsoft.
the article I saw, I think yesterday, was Microsoft is still number one, Nvidia is number two, but Nvidia is going up fast. It might have passed
Yeah,
Microsoft by now. Yeah,
yeah, okay.
and both
It's
both of them on the strength of AI. And Apple is falling because they haven't got any AI yet. They're like the only major company that's not jumping on this bandwagon yet.
yeah, yeah, interesting, huh?
Well, they say
Well,
they're going to license it from OpenAI, just like Microsoft, which is one way to move up, although it would kind of eliminate the differentiation between the products anyway. We'll see.
yeah, well, Sam, this kind of brings in my next story,
Yeah.
which is about AI whistleblowers.
Oh, yeah.
And this is a right to warn about artificial intelligence. And here we go again. We've developed the technology. And let me kind of go to an extreme. World War II, we came up with the atomic bomb. And here we have the technology, we've invented it.
Yeah.
And we're saying, well, this isn't good. We need to uninvent it, or we need to erase it. We need to control it.
Yeah. Well, this is
And
whistleblowers from inside OpenAI, right?
correct.
And to
And
be fair,
others.
OpenAI was originally founded to prevent the development of AI. It's like one of the most self-contradictory, ridiculous mission statements I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Sam, I'm trying to think. Can you think of any other product technology that we've invented that we've said, oh, we have to abandon this?
Oh, there's always some protesters complaining about
No,
everything.
no, no. But have we actually done that? Can you think of any
Uh,
product? And I know I'm putting you on the
Chemical
spot.
weapons, maybe chemical and biological weapons. I think we have like an international ban on those, and it actually cut them down to some extent. Nuclear weapons.
Yeah, to some extent, but they're still there. Both of them are still there.
Yeah,
And I would argue, if what we're being told is correct, that our government has a stockpile of them just in case. So that means we haven't abandoned them. And the reason we haven't is because we don't trust our enemies and our friends.
yeah. The only thing I think that have been abandoned are things that become useless or obsolete.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even then, well, yeah, I guess they kind of fade away into history.
Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting. And these whistleblowers are talking about that it can set up, it can be discriminatory, it can be used in a lot of different ways that we don't know about, which is all true.
yeah. And
But
the big thing is that it's going to turn into the Terminator and kill us all by getting smarter than humans. They really believe that inside OpenAI. I think that's complete garbage, but they really seem to believe that.
yeah, yeah. So a couple movies. Do you remember Colossus?
I
It
don't think.
was a movie
Yeah,
from 1960s era.
yeah.
There was another movie about the same time, Failsafe, and there was Space Odyssey 2000, or what was that? Now I can't remember.
There's a bunch of
Um,
them where robot,
with Hal, yeah,
yeah.
with Hal.
Oh, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah,
Yeah, 2000, yeah, Space
our
Odyssey.
AIs turn against us and wipe us out. Yeah,
Yeah, so we'll see, right? I think I think don't we really have to worry about, since this is a relatively remake of a new movie, evolution and the Planet of the Apes taking us over?
yeah.
I'm
I think
kind of
that.
joking there,
I know,
but
I know. I think AIs are not going to get that smart. I don't think we have to worry about them. But
yeah.
I found another couple of fun articles. One is this guy was a metal polisher, so he bought a Cybertruck and he spent like a week polishing it. So the whole thing is like a mirror. So imagine driving that on the road, and nobody can even see it. And so that sounds crazy. It's kind of pretty, but you wouldn't want to drive it. And
No, and I could see that as being really dangerous.
oh
I mean, you
yeah,
could blind somebody.
oh yeah, and nobody can see where you are. They're going to see reflections of another car. It's going to be
Yeah, yeah. So it's a mirror, right?
yeah,
Essentially, right?
yeah, yeah. And there's an article on Gothamist that's fun. This woman,
Huh.
somebody stole her cell phone, so she just found out about it and went and reclaimed her. She went back and got a new phone, and they moved her data to the new phone. And so people, they left the old phone locked to her iCloud account, so they can't get any good out of it. So they started sending her messages to try to trick her into unlocking it. And she just archived all these messages as they tried more and more stupid, ridiculous scams to get you to unlock it. And it's pretty good to see, like the kind of people that record what scammers say and mock them. So
Yeah, yeah, that's funny.
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
And
So here, earlier we talked about Facebook turning 20,
yeah,
right? And Facebook's having a problem, and that people, especially younger generation, aren't using them.
I guess they use TikTok, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're TikTok, and we'll see where are we with the TikTok ban, by the way.
Oh, well, I mean, it passed someplace, but it doesn't take effect for like a year. And
So
they
no,
and there's
okay,
going to be appeals based on
yeah, okay. So we're in the appeal process.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, got it. Got it. Just curious. We got to
yeah,
keep up to date with this.
yeah.
So Zuckerberg is trying to attract a younger generation and make kind of Instagram, kind of blend that together with Facebook, or the Facebook interface, kind of merge those together with the hopes of attracting the TikTok generation to Facebook.
I think they also have Instagram Shorts or something to more directly attack TikTok.
Yeah, but now what he's trying to do is bring that into Facebook to make Facebook look more like Instagram, to kind of attract and profitize a younger generation.
Well, Zuckerberg might do it. He really seems to understand like the social party type of thinking of people, which Google manifestly doesn't. But he seems like he has
Yeah.
social skills to maybe make an app that people would want.
It's interesting. He's not part of that generation, I would argue.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So we'll see. Is all I can say is we'll see.
Yep, yep. We'll see if anybody can compete with TikTok. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a few more AI things here.
Okay.
I got Kaz, one of my friends, sent me an article. It's very interesting. AIs, they make an AI, they train it on all this data from the internet, then they try to stop it from doing horrible things like racist things, telling you how to build a bomb,
Right.
poison, and all that. Okay, so this guy figured out how to remove all the guardrails from any AI. All you do is you take a database after an AI has been trained and you have all the parameters, then it has like multiple stages, like 6 passes. So at each stage, you now feed it like 100 horrible questions and 100 regular questions. And you figure out what direction is the horrible stuff, and you change the parameters so it will never move in that direction, stage by stage. So you can easily adjust the parameters to de-censor any censored AI. And this seems to be a general procedure that is essentially impossible to stop. So that's the problem. All those guardrails are really easy to take down. So anyway, that's a useful fact. And there's another one from, I think, someone quite reputable. Yeah, IEEE wrote this,
Yeah.
believed it otherwise. So people are concerned about the power consumption of AI. And so one thing you can do is you can
Oh,
discretize your AI. You can have less bits. Instead of having like 32-bit floating point numbers, you can have like 8-bit integers. And then you can try 6-bit integers. How far can you go? They say you can go down to 1-bit calculations and you retain almost all the functionality of the AI. And the one that they like best is the one that just has 3 states, 0, 1, and -1 at many of the stages. So I wouldn't have believed it, but it's a pretty reputable source. You can discretize a lot of the calculation down to that level. And then, of course, it uses a lot less power, a lot less memory, and everything.
that's interesting. You know, Sam, it's interesting you bring this up because I believe Intel, and I just kind of read about this week. It one of the trade events is now talking about the cost of a CPU. Or did you catch that story? In
The
other words,
CPU.
yeah, in other words, the cost per bits or the cost of power.
Well, I heard years
Um,
ago that's why they said ARM would be much better than Intel.
yeah, and but what they're doing is they're now talking about it in the new CPUs in the cost to operate or the
Right.
cost per calculations. And so this is now a new metric. Instead of the speed of the chip, they're also adding in there the cost to power the chip and do calculations.
But for AI, it's of course GPUs and TPUs you have to consider.
Yeah, but this is a way of comparing,
Yeah.
if you will. Um,
Yeah. Another benchmark.
it's the energy efficiency of software.
Yeah.
How's that?
No, and I think I've heard of this a while. That's why they said ARM would take over ultimately because it's much better.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
You got another one?
Large install base though.
Well, it's apparently happening. Now we're going to have Windows on ARM. We already got the Mac on ARM. ARM hardware for Windows machines is coming out. I think it might already be out from Dell, so it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. On the Windows side, I haven't kept up on this, but I thought the performance was atrocious. It was in the past.
Well, I run them in virtual machines and they're fine. I'm running
Windows?
on ARM for a year or two on
Oh, okay.
one, and it's just fine. And I think now they're going to have official ARM hardware just for PCs. No, I think the performance will be much better. The Mac performance got much better on ARM. The battery life is
Yeah.
better, performance is better. I think the same thing will happen to PCs.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're
Yeah.
probably right. All right. You have another one for us?
I got a bunch more, but you got another one?
Well, yeah, do you remember the meme stock trader Roaring Kitty, Keith
Is that the
Gill?
guy with GameStop?
Yeah, with GameStop. So he's back in the news again. Looks like he wants to do some trading. So we'll see where that's going. But he's also, they're talking about banning him. So,
Based on what? I mean, you could complain about a lot of things about him. What are they complaining about?
well, what they're saying is, he can manipulate the market.
That's essentially all meme stops are. I mean, it's sort of like Alex Jones or Donald Trump. You've got this Pied Piper-like character that can get a bunch of people to believe something stupid he says, and therefore he's a hazard.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what the silly part is. Isn't this what a lot of companies do? And Elon, I think, is probably in recent history
Oh
one
yeah,
of the best manipulators of stock ever.
and crypto. Every
And
time there's something about Dogecoin, it moves around.
yeah.
I know.
So
So many people are investing in things that make no damn sense at all.
yeah, yeah. So you remember he singly-handed took GameStop from, which was I think trading in the $10 range or thereabouts, up
Yeah.
to I think nearly 200,
Oh,
175, maybe $200.
oh yeah. And so there was, if you happen to miraculously sell at the right point, you'd make a pile of money, but that's of course not what happened to most people.
Right, right. Somebody had to lose for him to win.
Yeah. So I
And
mean,
I don't, yeah. Do you know, was he able to walk away with the money?
oh, I don't know, but I mean, this ultimately
Yeah.
was sort of a revolt and like a satire against the market, saying the market is all rigged. We're going to just make our own market here.
Yeah, but it is.
Well, that's the
Or it
problem. It
can,
kind of is. But on the other hand, if you just invest in an index fund and ride the index, you make money up ahead of inflation, and that's all you can really do unless you're an insider.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But there is no way to
Exactly.
multiply your money by a factor of 10 this year unless you do something crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You might as well go to Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And to a certain degree, isn't that what the stock market is? It's kind of like counting cards, if you
Well,
will.
well, if you
Somewhat analogous.
if you are diversified, it's actually like a savings account. It's pretty reliably going to go up with
Yeah,
risk in a modest way. But if you try to make big money, then it's, just gambling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, what do you have for us? Give me another story.
Well, here's one that I thought might really matter a lot. Canada has now demanded that streaming services, Netflix, Spotify, and others, have to give them 5% of the money they make in Canada so they can fund local news again. This might catch on. This might be a big deal.
Well, this has been going on for at least a year, if not several years. I think several years.
Different attempts, yeah, to tax the big
Yeah,
companies.
yeah,
And I think it's gaining momentum in other countries. In America, I think the big tech lobbies are so powerful they can't get anything through. But in Europe and Canada, they might be able to get it through, and that might make a difference.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not certain about that. You're right, other markets, but I think you'll find a large backlash from Facebook. I mean from
Sure.
Spotify.
I mean, the first thing they'll do is just say, we won't service Canada then and see who can hold out.
Yeah.
I know I tried that, I think, with Australia, and they gave in. The companies gave in and paid the tax. Um, So there's a couple of medical ones that caught my attention.
Okay.
Last time I talked about the custom vaccines you can make to stop cancer. Now they have one that is not custom. 100% of cancer patients, I think 42 of them with serious cancer, have been given a drug called Gemperli. And my sister explained this to me more. She knows, as a teaches nursing and medicine. The cancer cells are like invasive things in your body. So they affect your immune system to stop your immune cells from attacking them. And this drug reverses that. So your immune systems now attack the cancer cells. And therefore, it stops cancer from spreading and it causes tumors to go down without surgery. And the incredible thing is, in like 24 patients have 100% complete remission, total success. So this really
Wow.
does sound like a major step forward in cancer treatment. And there's another one, popcorn lung. You remember the old popcorn used to have this smell like butter? Um,
Yeah.
and that stuff turned out to be incredibly bad for you. The stuff that they used is not butter, it is a chemical. Wait, I got to get the right popcorn lung. Yep. The chemical in there, if I can somehow get the ads off of my stinking all right, maybe I'm going to have to open this in a private window or something. Yeah, I could see it before, but now it's just covered with ads. Okay, nope. No matter what I do, it just fills up with ads. Anyway, oh, there it is. Finally figured out how to close the garbage. Diacetyl. Diacetyl is that chemical that smells like butter, but isn't butter. That is turns out to be incredibly harmful to your lungs. It causes permanent scarring to lungs. It gives you like emphysema, and it's used in flavored vapes in America, although not in Europe. A lot of vapes have diacetyl, and this causes serious problem called popcorn lung after originally coming from popcorn. So they really should be banning it from vapes probably, and apparently it's banned in Europe, but not in the United States because, as usually they say, the evidence isn't clear enough, like they say about all pesticides and everything. Anyway, an important thing to know: people really should probably avoid vaping. I remember when vapes came out like 5 years ago, I said, "Well, it's got to be better than smoking," and apparently it's worse than smoking. You'd probably be better off to tell your vaping friends to just buy a pack of cigarettes. They'd probably be better off.
Yeah, boy, that's interesting. You know, a little sidelight about cigarette smoking and cigarettes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of this, but they're radioactive because they use polonium fertilizer.
What? Why would you use polonium fertilizer?
It's cheap.
Is polonium benefit? No, maybe polonium contaminated fertilizer. The polonium
No,
itself doesn't help the plants, does it?
I believe it's if you look at the periodic table, you know, in the
Yeah.
columns,
Oh
it
yeah.
acts as an element that's a fertilizer.
Okay. Well, another thing about vapes is even if they don't have that diacetyl in them, the hot metal they use to vaporize it fills them with heavy metals. So you're getting heavy metal inhalation. So they just seem to be worse than cigarettes, which surprised me because we know how bad cigarettes are. But apparently those
Yeah.
vapes are even worse. So
So, you know, Sam, that's an interesting one. They vape company Juul was in the news, what, about 3, 4 years ago?
oh yeah, well they're still in the news. There was a
Are they?
prohibition, but the prohibition was placed on stay in the courts, and they just won another victory, staying it longer. So Juuls are still for sale, and they sell the flavored ones with diacetyl in them too.
So this is modern version of the cigarette companies.
Oh yeah,
We know that they're selling a product that's going to cause health problems,
yeah.
short term, long term, and yet we still allow them to sell a product like that.
Well, we tried banning alcohol. That didn't help. I mean, the problem is people like this stuff, and like you tried banning marijuana. Good luck with that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We tried to make it illegal.
all you do is create a giant underground mob selling the illegal stuff. Then,
Yeah, yeah. Interesting how Juul just took off, though. Yeah, you know, they became what, $1 billion company within a
yeah,
few years.
but especially with the flavored ones, they market them at middle school kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I knew a guy that worked in advertising for the wine industry and then beer. And then when they started making wine coolers, he quit and moved to another profession because they were clearly marketing at teenagers. And
Well, isn't that what all the White Claw and all these
yeah, soda
yeah,
pop with alcohol in them. That's
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
he said. I'm not going to be in this business anymore. This is too immoral.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but it goes on.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting. Interesting developments.
yeah, it'll
You
be
got
Kurt.
another one for us. I think I know who this is.
I think so. Anyway, what you got another story, Doug?
Nope, I'm out for the week.
Well, I got a couple more that just are closely related. I got uh, a lot of my friends are unmarried and don't have kids, and apparently this is really common. Newsweek has an article from yesterday with interesting graphs just showing how from 1970 to 2002, um, women living alone has gone from 11 to 15%. Men living alone has gone from 5 to 13%. An enormous number of people are just not bothering to get married, not bothering to have sex, not bothering to have kids anymore. They're just living alone. More and more people do that. And so you can worry about it. It's not clear what to do about it, but Japan has a solution. Japan has it much worse. There's a whole bunch of people who are unmarried and too many old people, not enough young people. So Japan has made an official dating app from the government to try to convince you to get married. So we'll see if that works. I'm pretty.
I heard about that. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, it's funny, not too far away, China was limiting people to one child.
Oh yeah, the strong governments try to do this. In America, the government can't do it. That turned out to be a mistake. That was because they believed all the silent spring that overpopulation would end the world. But it turned out all you have to do is elevate people's standard of living and they will choose not to have so many kids. That's why in the long run, I think it's a good thing if people don't have kids. There's too many people. But in the short run, it creates an economic imbalance that we're going to have to cope with government programs or something for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
You know, there's a TED talk. Unfortunately, this doctor has passed away, but it's Hans Rosling.
Oh yeah, I
And
know him.
he has some very good videos on population. He's collected the world's data, put it together. And you're right, it's interesting to see what factors cause people for their living conditions to improve versus number of kids and healthcare and prosperity of the country.
Yes, I read his book Factfulness, and I often quote it
Oh,
in
you
class
did?
because he has so many great charts. Because people say the world is going to hell, everything is bad, I don't want to have kids. And I say, no, the world is better than it's ever been, and it's on a long-term improving trend. You don't need to freak out.
Yeah,
You look over
yeah,
like 100 years, extreme poverty, medical problems, women's rights, science, art, music, all of it is improving on the long scale. So you don't need to have a negative attitude about the world as a whole. Of course, there are occasional wars and problems, but um, as a whole, we really are improving the condition of humans, which is what you would expect.
yeah. He had a TED talk on the washing machine
Oh,
and how it improved people's lives. And he said he grew up after World War II and his family saved for maybe a year to buy a washing machine.
yeah,
And that washing machine freed his mother to allow her to read to him, to teach him English,
yeah.
and instead of washing clothes for 2 days a week or spending 2 days a week washing clothes.
Yeah, and I would say, like America has a high divorce rate compared to like I think at least China maybe 40 years ago. And the point was you couldn't get out of marriage then. There was no divorce. So that's why
Right.
people stayed in. And I think to be fair, a family used to have a whole lot of drudgery. The woman had to do all this cleaning by hand and you had to do all this farm work and stuff. And now you don't have to. So maybe people can live alone. That's why they do. It,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
used to be you needed a whole lot of a whole group of people working together to just do the essentials of life.
Well, or what you would call a commune
Yeah, yeah,
or a kibbutz, right?
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
the downside is people are more isolated and such. But I think we're just living through a period of transition, and so there's some chaos as the old things fall away. Like most people have no church and no religion anymore, and that used to be a huge big part of life. And we haven't really replaced it. We have crazy stuff instead. Like worshiping Donald Trump or something.
Yeah. Boy, is that taken off, hasn't it? That's another story.
I know he's still ahead. His lead chipped down a couple points for being a felon, but not much. It's looking like he's going to be our next president again. Man, I don't look forward to that, although I'll get some good t-shirts out of it because he says so many stupid things. They make good t-shirt slogans.
Yeah. Well, don't you think, Russia, North Korea, and China will see to it that Trump's going to win?
Well, they would like him to win. If the American public significantly was opposed to it, they couldn't. But I think they can probably move things by 1 or 2%, and that might be enough.
AI and deep fakes and
Yeah,
false misinformation, disinformation.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember right after his conviction, I saw his speech and he said Biden wants to raise your tax by a factor of 4. And I never said lock up Hillary. And just, you can just say anything and his people will just apparently believe it no matter what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a magic power. It's like he was one of these characters in a fairy tale that gets the magic power that everybody will believe anything you say.
All right. You got another story for us, Sam.
No, I think
Are
that's it.
you out?
Yep, I think that's it. I have another
You're
one on
out.
Tuesday, I reckon.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
We'll